role here today is to project manage and to get this property constructed. We've got a 6-stage process we're going through. We started back in January this year. So this is the second stage we're going through. First stage was key lining, the whole 100 acres. We've got a 3,000 acre property. This 100 acres we've been given to by the client, and they're willing to help us out by constructing this into a regenerative and sustainable piece of land that we can hopefully improve over time. The property, we've got a sort of a south facing aspect here. It's a pretty degraded cattle property. It's been in this family, the family working for around about 30 years. And ever since then it's been through a series of droughts and some hard times. So what we're trying to do now is just do some simple remediation work by putting swales and trees in to combat that and to hopefully hold some moisture in the ground and build some carbon at the same time. In this 100 acres we've got about 2.2 kilometres of swales going in, so we've done swale 1 this morning. It's worked out quite well, and behind me the guys are actually joining swale 1 into the dam. So by the time this paddock gets to a stage where we've got some surface runoff, this swale will actually help catch that water, and then that water will be held in the swale. Then whatever's left over will actually head back into the dam. Once that dam's full, it'll then back flood this swale, and about 20 metres that way will be a level sill spillway. So basically that'll come off the dam, it'll back flood into the swale, and then we'll put the water back across a dry part of the paddock as opposed to running at the bottom of the dam. We'll put it out a bit further and hopefully get some more hydration that way. Then we'll cover crop this. Fleur's just been through this morning and cover crop the whole swale right from top to bottom. Once that dam's finished, we'll go through and cover crop that with just a mixture of ryegrass, cocksfoot and some clovers. Then what we'll do in about a day or two, we'll go through with some straw on the back of a forage feeder and broadcast straw over the top of this, and what that'll give us is some protection from the oxidising sun. Sun oxidises carbon out of the soil, so what we'll do, cover that over. It's going to give us a nice little layer, basically like a bit of a doona cover really on this bit of swale, and the grass and things will grow back after that. Then once we've done that, this swale will be planted out with about 280 trees, and then the dam wall eventually in stage 3 or 4, we're going to put some bamboo on the dam wall. What it's going to do is actually hold that dam wall together, and that dam will then be fenced off, as the swales will be fenced off from any cattle, any livestock. Compaction on the swale wall is not what we want. We want a very soft wall so that when the water hits this swale, fills up, it actually percolates down through the ground and gets absorbed by the ground, as opposed to sitting in here like a dam. And with the dam wall over the years, the cattle being on it and lots of rain, intense rain, it's actually washed in that dam wall and eroded it away. So what we're going to do now, the guys on the grader are just reshaping that, and the excavator driver is just doing a few tweaks to that too at the same time to help that out. This design is a design we come up with based on permaculture design and permaculture principles. We're using a few other techniques, like a technique developed by P.A. Yeomans with keyline ploughing. We're doing that. We're also going to incorporate compost teas into this too, so we can actually inoculate the ground. This being a pretty degraded cow paddock over the years has sort of been pushed to the limit where soil carbon's at a very, very minimum, and the land's been pushed to produce good cattle. But hopefully with the inclusion of these swales, so the swales are water harvesting ditches on contour, but we're also going to do too is these will actually become fertility catchers, so they'll catch fertility, hold fertility, and disperse it evenly across the landscape. So we're going to plant a series of trees through these swales, and they'll all be pioneer species first. So they'll be quick fix, nitrogen fixing trees, and they'll cycle through maybe 8 year sort of lifespan. And then once we've done that, we'll come through and put other fertility building trees. There'll be oaks and some ornamental things that drop leaves and create fertility quite well. So we're designing it with water, access and structures in mind, so we're looking at all those too. We're taking into consideration some holistic management, which involves looking at timed grazing and cell grazing. And based around that, this paddock being 100 acres is only 3% of the property. So this is a 3,000 acre property. On a large scale, doing this sort of work over the 3,000 acres would be not cost effective, but what we're trying to do is to demonstrate here to the client. And just even this first 3 months, we've done the key lining now, and the grass had been eaten down to nothing, and even had quite a good season. But now with a bit of key line, we've broken those compaction layers, taken that anaerobic layer out, and got some oxygen and sunlight down those cracks. That the grass is 3-4 foot high now. We're getting diversity of other species coming back that weren't here before, clovers, various other grasses that have come back just through one simple ripping. The variety species we've got up there are all sort of local endemic, fast growing nitrogen fixing trees. We'll also include in the mix there a few shrubby type things to introduce things like bees and other sorts of animals like birds and things that can come in and also get protection in those sort of species. So what we're using them is to basically get a canopy up like a forest does, get this canopy up of fast nitrogen fixing trees, and then maybe 3 or 4 years later what we're going to do is start planting out with our successional plants, the ones we're going to want there at the end of the day. So those nitrogen fixing species will then end up, once fertility starts to build, they'll actually die out, and what will happen then, they'll actually release their nitrogen once they've died out. It's a square paddock, so what we're doing is planting shelter belts right around the edge. If this had been a broad acre, say the whole property, what we would have done, we wouldn't have planted windbreaks. What we would have done is use the actual swales, because when the swales intersect the property, they're actually giving protection on different angles. So you don't really need to go and plant this. But for the exercise here, square paddock, we've got some harsh southwesterly winds that come through in winter, and also we've got northerly winds coming through in summer. So we're going to try and protect those areas initially. As far as trees go on this property, there's not a lot. If we had to put a percentage figure on it, I would say probably 1% of the whole 3,000 acres is maybe trees, even less than that. What we're trying to do is at least to give the cattle some protection, and then from that, I think they'll see some benefits from that too.